Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fluento, Everyday English for Real Life. I'm Anna, and I'm sitting here with my wonderful co-host, David, who looks unusually peaceful today, almost like someone who has spent the entire morning staring out a window, thinking about the meaning of life.
You know me too well. I did actually spend a good 10 minutes staring at a bird on a tree branch. It was just sitting there, doing nothing, and I thought, wow, that bird has its life figured out. Maybe I should learn from it.
10 minutes? That's basically meditation. Look at you, becoming a calmer version of yourself.
I'm trying. And speaking of trying, today's topic is one I really love. We're talking about the future, our hopes, our dreams, our plans, the big ones and the tiny ones.
Yes, it's one of my favorite topics, too. I think talking about the future can feel really energizing. It helps us imagine something better, something exciting, something that makes us want to grow or learn or move forward.
And, of course, because this is Fluento, we'll talk about the future in a natural, conversational way, so you can learn how native speakers talk about dreams, plans, hopes, and even doubts.
Exactly. We'll share stories, vocabulary, expressions, and a lot of honest, real conversation.
So, Anna, let me ask you something to start us off. When you were younger, I mean like teenager young, what did you think your future would look like?
Oh, wow, you're starting big.
Always.
Okay, let me think. When I was a teenager, I actually wanted to be a painter, a real artist. I had this fantasy of living in a tiny studio in Paris with a cup of coffee on the windowsill, painting huge, colorful canvases, and talking to interesting strangers in cafes.
That is incredibly on brand for you. I can fully imagine teenage Anna having a sketchbook everywhere she went.
I did. I still have a few old sketchbooks. They're embarrassing, but sweet.
Did you think you would really become a professional artist?
For a while, yes. I thought, this is it. My future is art. But then, as I got older, I realized I loved explaining things. I loved helping people understand ideas. And that slowly became stronger than my dream of painting for a living.
So your dream changed.
Exactly. And I think that's such an important thing for our listeners to hear. Dreams can change. Plans can change, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you failed. It just means you learned more about yourself.
I love that because when I was a kid, I wanted to be something completely different too.
Let me guess. Astronaut?
Close. Archaeologist.
Really?
Oh, yes. I imagined myself walking through ancient temples with a little brush cleaning dinosaur bones.
Dinosaur bones in temples?
I was a creative child, okay?
No judgment.
But really, I loved history. I loved old things. I wanted to discover something that no one had ever found before. But then I discovered something important. I hate dirt, and I don't love hot, dry places. And archaeology is mostly dirt and hot, dry places. So my dream met reality.
Yes, and reality won.
Yes, and reality won. But that dream helped me develop curiosity. It taught me to ask questions, to explore, and eventually that curiosity led me to teaching and storytelling, and now here we are.
That's the beautiful thing about dreams. They don't always become your job, but they shape you.
Exactly. And that brings us to our first English point of the day. Very naturally, the way we talk about the future. When we talk about childhood dreams, we often use expressions like, I wanted to be, I thought I would, I imagined myself, I used to dream of.
Yes, and notice how these expressions tell a story. They're reflective, they look back at the past, but they talk about the future that we imagined. And that's something English learners often forget. The future isn't always will or going to. Sometimes it's about memory, too.
That's such a good point. And now, speaking of the future we imagined, let's talk about the future we imagine now, as adults.
Ah, yes, adult dreams. They're very different from childhood dreams. Childhood dreams are like, I want to be a superhero. Adult dreams are like, I want a dishwasher that doesn't break.
It's true, the dreams get smaller, but also more meaningful. So tell me, Anna, today, right now, if someone says, what is your dream for the future? What comes to your mind?
Hmm. Okay, let me think. For me, one big dream is to have a little house somewhere near nature. Not too far from the city. I'm not ready to live completely alone in the woods, but close enough to trees, a lake, maybe a forest, somewhere quiet, somewhere where mornings feel slow.
That sounds wonderful. What kind of house do you imagine?
Something small, something simple, with big windows, a garden where I can grow herbs, maybe tomatoes, and a space inside the house where sunlight comes in perfectly for reading.
I can picture that. It fits you. And what about you? What is your dream for the future?
Honestly, I want to write a book.
Oh, I didn't know that. What kind of book?
A book of stories. Stories from people I've met, places I've traveled to, conversations that changed me. Not a novel, not fiction. More like a collection of real human experiences.
That is so you. You're always collecting stories anyway. You might as well put them in a book.
Exactly.
And I love the idea of writing something that stays, something that exists even when I'm not speaking.
I love that. And that reminds me of an English expression. I've always wanted to.
Yes, it's such a useful sentence starter. You can use it for big dreams or small dreams.
For example, I've always wanted to visit Iceland. I've always wanted to learn the piano. I've always wanted to start a garden. I've always wanted to write a book.
Or, I've always wanted to understand taxes. But I think that's impossible.
Same.
So, let me ask you something deeper, Anna. You mentioned the house near nature. Why nature? Why is that part of your dream?
That's a beautiful question. I think nature reminds me to slow down. I grew up in a very busy family. Everyone was always running somewhere. Work, school, activities, responsibilities. Life felt fast. And nature was the opposite. When I was near trees or water, time felt different, softer, more human.
That's such a lovely way to put it. And I think a lot of our listeners feel that too. The desire to slow down, to breathe, to have a little more quiet.
Yes. And I think that's why future dreams are such a powerful topic. They tell us what we value, what we want more of, what we think is missing.
So true. And speaking of values, let me tell you a short story. A few years ago, I traveled to a small town in Portugal. It was this beautiful fishing town by the ocean. Boats, colorful houses, old stone streets. And I met this man, João, who owned a tiny restaurant, maybe 8 tables in total.
That already sounds like a dream.
It really was. And I asked him one day, Do you ever think about leaving here? Opening a bigger restaurant, maybe in Lisbon, or even another country? And he looked at me like I had asked the strangest question in the world. He said, "Why would I want bigger? I have everything I want here. I have the ocean. I have good food. I have people I love. That is enough."
Wow.
Yeah, and that moment stayed with me. We often think the future needs to be bigger, more money, more success, more things. But sometimes the future can just be enough.
That is such a powerful lesson, and it fits perfectly with this idea that dreams don't have to be huge.
Exactly. So maybe our listeners also have small dreams. To wake up earlier, to drink more water, to read 10 pages of a book a day, to take a walk every morning, to call a friend more often.
Those small dreams create big changes.
Yes, and they're easier to start.
Speaking of starting, let's talk about how we express future plans in English. For example, if I say, I'm going to start a garden this spring, that means it's a plan, something I really want to do.
Right. And if I say, I might write a book in the future, might shows possibility. I'm thinking about it, but I'm not sure yet.
And then there's I will, which we often use when we decide something in the moment.
Like right now, if I say, I will make tea after this episode, that means I decided it now.
Exactly. And this is something many English learners struggle with. When do you use going to? When do you use will? And when do you use might?
But the good news is, in real-life conversation, native speakers mix them naturally. The important thing is to communicate the meaning, plan, prediction, possibility, or decision.
Yes. And the more you listen and practice, the more natural it becomes.
Speaking of listening, you asked me earlier what my dream for the future is. I said I want to write a book. But now let me ask you something a little different. What is a dream you have that you don't talk about very often?
Ooh, that's a vulnerable question.
Take your time.
Okay. Something I don't talk about much is that I want to live in another country again, at least for a little while. Not forever, but maybe for 6 months or a year. I used to live abroad in my 20s, and it changed me. It opened my mind. It made me see myself differently. And I miss that feeling sometimes, the feeling of being new somewhere.
That's such a beautiful way to describe it. The feeling of being new somewhere.
It's true. When you're in a new place, even small things feel magical. Buying fruit at the market, learning how to say thank you in another language, getting lost and discovering something unexpected.
And learning to communicate even when you don't have the perfect words.
Yes, and our listeners know that feeling very well.
They do. And maybe that's why today's topic is so meaningful, because learning English is a dream for the future. It's something you're building, slowly, step by step.
It's a long journey, and sometimes it feels like nothing is changing. But then one day you realize you understood a podcast, or you had a conversation, or you wrote a message, and it all makes sense.
Exactly. And that reminds me, Anna, have you ever had a dream that scared you a little?
Definitely. I think the best dreams always feel a bit scary. If a dream is completely comfortable, it's probably too small.
So, what's a dream that scares you?
Hmm. Honestly, starting my own creative project, something big and personal. Maybe a series or a class or even a book. Something where I share more of myself. It scares me because I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to be perfect before I start.
I understand that. And you know, there's a saying in English, perfect is the enemy of good.
Yes, I say that to my students sometimes.
It means if you wait for something to be perfect, you'll never begin. Sometimes it's better to start messy, start imperfect, start scared.
I'm absolutely right. And what about you? Do you have a dream that scares you?
Yes. I want to hike the Camino de Santiago, the long version. Over a month of walking, just me, my backpack, and a very long road in front of me.
That sounds incredible. Why does it scare you?
Because it's long, it's unpredictable, and it's quiet. A lot of silence with yourself. Sometimes silence is scary.
But also healing.
Exactly. And that's why I want to do it. I want to see who I am when life is simple.
There's an expression in English: a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Yes, from Lao Tzu originally, but very common in English, and it fits perfectly.
It does. And speaking of steps, this reminds me, dreams are not only about the big future, they're also about the very near future. Tomorrow, next week, next month.
Yes, we should talk about that, the small future.
So, what's one small thing you want to do tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow I want to cook a real breakfast. Not cereal, not toast. I want to make eggs, vegetables, and maybe pancakes. Something that feels like love.
I love that. I think cooking is like sending a message to yourself. You deserve something good.
Exactly. And what about you? What's your small plan for tomorrow?
I want to go for a morning walk without my phone. Just me, my thoughts, and the sound of birds. It's something I've wanted to do for weeks, but I keep saying tomorrow. So tomorrow is finally the tomorrow.
I love that. And for our listeners, these are great examples of simple English future expressions. I'm going to cook breakfast tomorrow. I'm going to go for a walk in the morning.
Yes, they're simple, but you use them every day in real conversation.
Anna, let's go a little deeper. What's something you want to learn in the future? A skill, a hobby, anything?
I want to learn pottery.
Pottery. That's amazing.
I think it's beautiful, shaping something with your hands, creating something physical in a world where everything is digital. And pottery feels patient. You can't rush it. You have to work with the clay, not against it.
That sounds very therapeutic.
I think it is. And you, what skill do you want to learn?
I want to learn how to surf.
Surf? Really?
Yes. I've always had this image in my mind. Waking up early, going to the beach, carrying a surfboard under my arm. The ocean scares me a little, but I also love it.
Surfing is the perfect combination of fear and joy.
Which is exactly why it's a great dream.
And it's a great example of how to say a future goal in English. I want to learn how to surf. I'd love to learn pottery someday.
Listeners, notice that want to is very direct, very clear, but I'd love to is softer, more emotional, more dreamy.
Yes. And now let's talk about something many people worry about. What if your dreams don't happen?
Classic fear.
I think people forget that dreams are not promises. They're directions. They help you face forward.
Beautifully said.
And sometimes dreams lead you somewhere else, somewhere unexpected, somewhere better.
Like your painter dream leading you to teaching?
Exactly. Or your archaeology dream leading you to storytelling.
And maybe our listeners have dreams too. Dreams about speaking English fluently, traveling, starting a business, making new friends, or just feeling confident in a new place.
And those dreams are real. They matter. Even if they're small, even if they change.
Especially if they change.
And that brings us to something I want to say directly to our listeners. Your future is not fixed. It's something you can create, little by little, every day, every word you learn, every sentence you practice.
I love that. That's exactly why we do this podcast.
So, before we start closing today's episode, David, let me ask you one last question.
Go for it.
What is one dream you're already working on?
I think I'm working on living a more present life, paying more attention, being more aware, less rushing, more noticing.
That is a beautiful dream, and you are definitely making progress.
Thank you. And what about you?
My dream that I'm working on is being braver, saying yes to more things, trying things even when I'm afraid I'm not ready.
You're doing wonderfully.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, we want you to think about this question too. What is one dream you are already working on? It can be big or small. Learning English counts. Being kinder counts. Drinking more water counts. Everything counts.
And if you want, you can share your dream with us in the comments. We love reading them. We learn so much about you through your stories.
And who knows, maybe writing your dream in English is the first step towards making it real.
I love that.
Anna, as always, this conversation has been inspiring.
It has. And I hope our listeners feel inspired too. Inspired to imagine their future, to dream, to learn, to grow, and to believe in themselves a little more.
Yes, and remember, your future doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be yours.
Thank you all so much for spending this time with us.
We'll be back soon with another warm, real English conversation.
Until then, keep practicing, keep dreaming, and keep moving forward, even one small step at a time.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.